it's truth that comes first. Authority is to serve truth. Truth is the purpose of authority. Therefore, when authority goes off the rails, when authority separates itself from truth, authority destroys itself. I'll give you an example. How did Archbishop Lefebvre, without the Pope, against the Pope, succeed in attracting so many Catholics? And how did he make so many Catholics accept his authority when he was against the Pope? Because the Pope is normally, for Catholics, the authority. And the answer has to be because he told the truth. When the Pope was no longer telling the truth, people knew, Catholics knew, or some Catholics knew, they couldn't trust him. If he was making a new religion, if he was changing the Catholic religion, he could not be trusted, even if he was the Pope. But the problem is that many Catholics had forgotten that authority is to serve truth. And the greatness of the popes down all of the ages is that they have been faithful in serving the truth of our Lord. Even if you read the Gospel of St. John, it's very clear that our Lord himself says, I'm only here to do and say what my Father tells me to do and say. In other words, Jesus is God, but as a man, he's also a man. True God, true man, both. But as man, he's only there in order to serve God. And he's only there in order to say and to do what things God tells him to do. He is God, but as man, he has to do and to say what God tells him to do. If that's true for our Lord, for Jesus Christ, it's all the more true for the popes. The popes must submit to the truth. The truth is above them. It's outside of them. The truth is what it is. The truth of the Catholic religion, the truths of the Catholic religion are established by Jesus Christ. They're laid down by God. They're not created by man. Man has to submit to these truths created by God. For instance, the truth, the incredible and almost unbelievable truth of the Holy Eucharist, that God should be really, truly, and substantially present beneath the appearances of a little piece of bread and a few drops of wine. It's not humanly believable, but it's divinely believable. We believe it because God tells it to us. So, we have to submit our minds and our hearts to these truths that God tells us. And our Lord Jesus Christ, although he, as a man, also submitted completely to the truths that his Father, as a man, his Father told him to convey to mankind, to give us as human beings. And the popes are the successors of Jesus Christ. If Jesus Christ, who was himself God, had to submit to what his Father told him to do and to say, how much more must the popes submit to what God tells them, what the Church tells them to do and to say? And yet, when it came to Vatican II, the Pope Paul VI believed his authority was above the truth. That he, as the authority, the Pope, could change the truth, could remake the religion, could change the religion of God into the religion of man. Incredible. But it's from from several centuries of men getting used to accepting the truth from authority, because authority is there to convey the truth. And therefore, but the Catholics lost their grip on truth, so that when the Catholic authority told them to change their religion, They changed many of them changed their religion. Archbishop Lefebvre, no, because he said, look, the Pope is not there to change the religion. Not even the Pope can change the religion of our Lord Jesus Christ. He was, of course, quite right. Yet, what did the massive Catholic bishops and the massive Catholics do? They followed Pope Paul VI simply because he was the authority. Truth is above authority. That's not Protestant. If you follow nonsense against authority, that's very, very foolish. But if you follow if authority separates itself from truth, and then you follow the truth instead of authority, that's not Protestant. It's Catholic, entirely Catholic. Archbishop Lefebvre was no Luther. Was not Luther at all. And now the Society of St. Pius X is going the same way. Why? Because the youngsters that succeeded the Archbishop, the next generation of leaders of the society after the Archbishop died, they belong to the modern world. They've lost their grip on truth. And they are authority. And now Bishop Philly says, I am the authority, just like Paul VI, just like Pope Paul VI. I am the authority. I am the authority in the Society of St. Pius X. You must follow me because I am the authority. Forget the truth. I am the authority. It's incredible. It's the same mentality as the mentality that enabled Paul VI to carry many Catholics away from the truth. John the 23rd the same. And the conciliar popes the same. Catholics must stick to the truth. Now, of course, the truth usually comes through the authority. So, Catholics want to look to the authority. They want authority to tell them the truth. But if the authorities, if Pope Francis, if the cardinals, if the bishops of the dioceses, and if now Bishop Philly, including Bishop Philly, don't tell the truth, don't stick to the truth, and Bishop Philly wants to go with these abandoners of the truth, these prelates of the church who have abandoned the truth. He's wanting to go with them, to get in with them, to get approved by them. He has never understood Archbishop III. He's never understood the truth. He can very well talk about the truth if he wants to, but he's absolutely not understood what the truth really means. It's incredible. And it's because, I think, it's because he's a modern young man. He's a young man of the modern world. And that's why he's not understood. So how does somebody today stick to the truth when all the authorities are telling them something different? It has to be by the grace of God that one understands. And to obtain that grace of God, I was saying earlier, I honestly think the best and surest way is the Rosary. I don't know why, but I know that the Mother of God keeps if I may use the word, promoting the Rosary. I don't honestly know why, but I always think of the story of General Naaman in the Old Testament. And he was a leper, but he was a general with scrambled egg all over his shoulders and ribbons all over his front. And he was a big man in the Syrian army. But he was a leper. But he had an Israeli serving girl who told him, General, in our country, in Israel, we've got a man of God, Elisha, who could cure you of your leprosy. So he says, well, that's interesting. So he says, well, I'm a leper, and I might as well give it a try. So he goes, this is all in the Old Testament, by the way, there are a few modernized details, but the story is basically in the Old Testament. You'll find it in, I think it's 3 Kings. So he says, all right, so he goes he gets himself driven in his limousine with flags on all the four corners and with horn. All the traffic has to get out of the way when the general drives. So he drives from Syria to Israel in his limousine, and he arrives in Israel and he finds out where the cave of Elisha is. Elisha lives in the cave, so the man of God lives in the cave. So he drives to the cave, a pretty dusty road, and bump, bump, bump his limousine. And he arrives outside the cave and he tells his driver, go in and see this Elisha and tell him that I'm here and I want to be cured of leprosy. So the driver goes in to see the man of God, and the man of God doesn't even come out of his cave. The man of God, Elisha, the prophet, tells the driver, tell your general to bathe 7 times in the river Jordan, which is a little insignificant stream running nearby. And so the driver tells, General, the man of God says to you, you've got to bathe 7 times in the Jordan and you'll be cured of your leprosy. What? Yes, General, in the Jordan, in this little stream. We at home have big rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. This is ridiculous. General, if he told you to do something big, would you have done it? Yes. Well, he's telling you only to do something small. Can't you perhaps do it? Well, drive me here at midnight when nobody's around. So, back at midnight, bump, bump, bump along the dusty road. The driver drives him next to the Jordan. Go away! Leave me alone! So the driver discreetly gets out of the way, and then the general takes off his beautiful uniform, when nobody's around, of course. Takes off his beautiful uniform. He doesn't want to spoil his scrambled egg and his ribbons. Takes off his uniform when nobody's looking. He begins to bathe once, twice, 3 times. Nothing, nothing, nothing. 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Nothing. He's still a leper. Leprosy is horrible. And then he bathes in the 7th time. Comes out, he's cured. He's cured. Wow. So, the answer is we need to do what heaven says. It's not necessarily something big. It's not necessarily something complicated. It's exactly like praying the Rosary. And if the heaven says, if the Mother of God keeps saying, pray the Rosary, pray the Rosary, pray the Rosary, that's what will get us to heaven. So, the general, although he was a big man, a great man, a general, he had enough faith and enough humility to do what the man of God said. He wasn't an Israelite, he wasn't a believer. He wasn't one of the people of God. But somehow he recognized that this was a man who knew what he was talking, so with nobody around, he bathed in the river 7 times and he was cured. So, my dear friends, if we want to get to heaven, despite everything that's going on around us, which is chaos, increasing chaos, if we want to get to heaven, that's how to do it. So, and I was saying earlier today, it's so great, the situation is so great, that, 5 mysteries for adults who've got their minds together and understand, if they can possibly pray 15, that's the thing to do. 15 a day. So, enough said. I think that's the essential solution to a situation in which the mass of human beings have lost their grip on truth. If you want to keep your grip on truth above authority, even while we will still respect the authorities, because they are the authorities, just like our Lord respected Annas and Caiaphas, even though they were complete delinquents, he still respected them. St. Paul the same. St. Paul came up in front of them, and one of them talked nonsense to him. He was being dragged in front of them like a delinquent, and one of them talked nonsense, and St. Paul said, "You whited sepulchre." And somebody said, "Do you realize you're talking to the high priest?" St. Paul immediately said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I didn't realize it was the high priest." And he quoted the verse from the Old Testament that it's necessary to respect people in authority. these delinquents, and they are delinquents, the Roman churchmen are the people in authority. They have the authority. Nobody else has the authority of our Lord's church. Therefore, we must respect them. At the same time as we respect them, we're not going to listen to their nonsense. But we're going to respect them because they occupy the chair of Moses. They're occupying the seats of authority of our Lord. They have the authority. They don't have the truth. Since they don't have the truth, we won't listen to them. Since they do have the authority, we will respect them. So, are there any questions? Any questions at all?